From the Daily Mail, Border Patrol unveils 60, quote, new miles of Donald Trump's border wall in drone footage and expects another 450 miles to be built by the end of 2020. There are people who don't like the president. Did you know this? This may come as a shock to you, but some people have what's referred to as Trump derangement syndrome, meaning no matter what Trump does, they hate it, they oppose it. It's insane. The joke is Trump could come out for oxygen and people would hold their breaths. Here's the thing about this story. They put new in quotes. And there are many people who hate Trump saying it's not new wall at all. It's just an upgrade on the old wall, or it's a replacement of existing wall. Here's the thing. They built new 18-foot high bollard walls, which is the fencing that's see-through, which was the right thing in my opinion. And they did it in areas with really weak fencing that was really low and ineffective. So yes, I would say it's fair to point out that what was there before wasn't really a thing at all, and it's pointless to try and claim it was a wall. But of course, we live in the age of every technicality being stretched to a ridiculous degree, and there are people saying that a 5-foot high fence was a wall, and that this isn't new because it's replacing a 5-foot high fence. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we can see in the images they've posted here, they've replaced what was like, you know, maybe 9-foot high fencing with 18-foot high fencing that is reinforced on the back. In some areas, it is triple barriered. There's a reason why they built walls here first. Look, you want to argue whether or not they should have a wall? Bring it somewhere else. I'm here to talk about how they're criticizing Trump, saying he didn't build new wall when he did. Listen, the first thing Trump's going to do is reinforce the areas that need the most enforcement. You don't need to build new wall in areas where there's no concern. You need to make sure that the walls in these areas need to be beefed up because they weren't working. You can see this. It says images show illegal crossings in 2005 and the new triple layer enforcement. So they're actually saying, well, Trump just replaced, this 9-foot high fence with a triple reinforced 18-foot high fence, so it doesn't count as a new wall. It does. And look, the other wall, people were jumping over it. So look, if you gave someone a list and said, which areas should we prioritize? This area is an empty desert. This area has a 9-foot high wall, but people are jumping over it. You'll say, well, the one where people are jumping over, right? Well, of course, critics are going to claim Trump didn't build any new wall. He's tricking you. The funny thing is, it's like the left is just patting themselves on the back, as if Trump supporters don't already understand what Trump is doing. You have to recognize, if someone's a fan of Trump, they're probably reading about what the man is doing and why he's doing it. But here's what we get. The left is not trying to insult Trump supporters. They're not trying to convince Trump supporters. They're just trying to insult and denigrate Trump supporters to their own tribe. See, look how dumb they are. Trump didn't even build a wall. And then people go, wow, really? I can't believe they believe that. And then Trump supporters are like, wow, Trump reinforced an ineffective fence with a triple layer barrier. All right, well, let's read the story. Before we do, head over to timcast.com/donate. If you would like to support my work, there's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address, but the best thing you can do is share this video. Seriously. Like, comment, subscribe, and share to help overcome the hurdles placed in front of me by YouTube who like CNN better. Let's read. The Daily Mail reports U.S. CBP has unveiled a stretch of what it called new wall on the southern border, saying it has completed at least 60 miles of border wall in total. The section of wall near San Luis, Arizona, consists of an 18-foot steel bollard barrier. CBP says the new triple-layered enforcement zone is more effective at deterring illegal entry than the former single 10-foot barrier. I was off by a foot, I'm sorry. That means it is not, in fact, a new wall, but a replacement for the existing barrier. The agency has yet to say when it will build any entirely new border barrier. You see, the media, look, the Daily Mail is not super anti-Trump for the most part, but that's what the media likes doing, is framing things. Hold on, let's stop here. They're saying it's not new. It is. It's new. If I have a 50-foot concrete wall and I knock it down for a 1-foot high fence, I still have a new fence. But they're trying to say it's not a new wall because it's just bad for the president. As I stated earlier, if you're going to ask someone to build a fence, you're going to say, let's reinforce the areas that need it most. That's the first thing you do. Why would you build listen, you have like a graph showing you hot zones. We'll build the better barrier in the hot zones because Trump's goal is to stem illegal immigration. But I guess, look, if your goal is to just pander to the press or to your base and claim you're doing something that's ineffective, Trump would be building wall in empty areas. This says to me The plan from CBP is actually about reinforcing our existing border barriers and stemming illegal immigration, not putting on a show. They'll try and claim Trump is trying to build the wall just to convince his base he's doing something even though it's ineffective. No, I think this says the opposite. They go on to say the agency says it plans to build at least 450 miles of new border wall by the end of 2020 and has projects underway in California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. But you know what? I'll say this. You guys know how the game is played. Look, I look at this objectively. I believe CBP is giving advice on the most effective way to enforce the border, and Trump is just saying go for it, and the media will smear him no matter what. I'm not here to make a point about the effectiveness of the wall necessarily or whether or not I support it, but to point out this makes total sense. It's like a Chinese finger trap problem. You know, it's counterintuitive. They think you're supposed to pull as hard as you can. Well, why don't you build new walls in the desert? Because there are hot zones with more illegal immigration, and that's Trump's goal, and it's been his goal the whole time. And so they built a triple-layered 18-foot fence to replace a 10-foot fence. The wall near San Luis is in the Yuma sector, which is the third busiest along the southwest border. Gee, doesn't that make sense? A majority of the tens of thousands of people who came to the U.S. over the last year are Central American families with children who immediately claim asylum. Many travel in large groups, and the high volume of people has overwhelmed Border Patrol, resulting in slow response times and dangerously overcrowded detention facilities. 5 children have died while in Border Patrol custody since December. So I want to make a point here. So they go on to talk about what they're already doing. We get it. They're going to build more fencing. But here's the thing. I see these comments from time to time where they're like, Tim Pool defending Trump on the border barrier strategy, the border wall strategy, but still saying he's going to vote Democrat, blah. Listen, Dan Crenshaw and Tulsi Gabbard are awesome. I really, really respect both of them. I think they're great. I just so happen to agree with Tulsi. I don't like the Democrats for the most part. Tulsi is a Democrat. I do like Tulsi. I think she's smart. I think she's principled, and she believes in a lot of the same things as me. We're not playing a game of tribes here. I'm not. I mean, they are for sure. So when people come to my channel and comment and say, after all of this, Tim will still vote for a Democrat? Yeah. I'll vote for a Democrat like Tulsi Gabbard, who defends free speech, who calls out big tech, who opposes private prisons, and who opposes foreign war. Yes, I will. That's my kind of candidate. Someone with principles. Now, here's the thing. So is Dan Crenshaw. But I disagree with Dan on a lot of issues. So I'll absolutely defend Dan Crenshaw in videos where people mock and belittle him because he's a good guy who's principled and honest, and we happen to disagree. 2 of my favorite politicians right now, probably Tulsi and Dan, and I hold them to probably at like equal levels of respect because they're both rational, privileged individuals. I'm not principled, not privileged. Principled. Yeah, we're talking about, when we get into the politics, you can see the slip there. But no, principled. So here's the thing. Dan Crenshaw on Joe Rogan said he opposes recreational marijuana. I believe we should be legalizing things like that because, as Joe points out as well, you just breed a black market. I don't smoke. I'm not a fan of smoking, and I'm not a fan of recreational use, whatever. But I am more about freedom. And if I have friends who smoke, I really don't care, man. Do your thing. And I think prohibition results in black market violence and extra legal activities that are just not good. Well, Dan's on the other side. He says we got to see a reason. The cat's out of the bag on alcohol, but not on pot. I disagree with him. He says we need a presence in the Middle East. I disagree, but I respect that he's been there and he has the experience. So here's the thing. I can absolutely point out that the left is insane and lying about what's going on with the wall, and that it makes more sense to replace the ineffective barriers in the hot zones than it does just build walls in the middle of the desert. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't look. Bernie Sanders defended border security. Bernie Sanders denounced open borders. I think Bernie Sanders has gone full establishment, and I'm not a big fan of the guy anymore because he's playing the political game. But I believe border security is a long-standing, it's been a long-standing issue supported by the Democrats. So yes, I will support a Democrat that believes in the same things as me. It's not about tribe. It's about who most aligns with where I am. And I got to admit, that's Tulsi. She said identity politics is divisive and it's bad. She's right. She's suing Google for a violation of her speech in her campaign. She's right. She's called this out. She's right. It's not about whether you're a Democrat or Republican. It's whether or not I'm more likely to agree with you on most policy issues. I'm very moderate on the wall because I don't think we need 450 miles of big, beautiful border barriers, but this makes sense. If a Democrat proposed reinforcing the Yuma sector with a triple barrier, I'd be like, makes sense, especially when Bernie Sanders has said we needed to do it. Okay, Well, now we have a bunch of crazy Democrats who believe crazy things. I'm not going to vote for any of those. I'm not going to vote for those crazy people who want to give healthcare to non-citizens. That's nuts. But it's not about being a Republican or a Democrat. It's about who makes the most sense for me. So here's the thing. Trump, this, reinforcement of this area was the right thing to do. End of story. It was the right thing to do, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. Now you want to argue about building border barriers in 450-mile stretch of the desert. Maybe. We'll talk about the amount of people. We'll talk about the cost. We'll talk about whether or not it can be maintained, and whether or not someone might not just throw you could throw like a rope over this and then pull it from the other side and climb up and climb over. Or someone could drive up with a big ladder. No, seriously, I really mean it. Like you could get a big ladder. So I don't know what the right thing to do is, but I will say reinforcing a known hot zone makes sense, and it doesn't mean I should or shouldn't be supporting a tribe. I can call out the lies from the left where they're trying to smear Trump. There's even people on the right smearing him for this, saying he's not building any new wall. He's just replacing existing wall. Yeah, but it's kind of like to a pretty strong degree, I'll call that a replacement. Anyway, you get the point. I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Podcast every day at 6:30 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.